Sairam. Sairam, everybody. I'm so grateful for
Sairam.
this opportunity, and thank you, Swami, for choosing me again to speak about you. It's in no words a small task, big shoes to fulfill, and I hope you will guide me. So, I am going to start with this little prayer to Swami. It says, "Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Baba, for your abundant grace daily. Thank you, Baba, for bringing me to you. Thank you for showing me the path of love, truth, and service. Thank you for the bliss. Thank you for every morsel that goes into my mouth that is earned by giving, not receiving. Thank you for changing my life with all your teachings. Thank you for this journey that you have put me on. Thank you, and thank you for everything. I offer myself at your lotus feet. You take care of this term on earth as you deem best. Please surrender through me, think through me, see through me, breathe through me, hear through me, speak through me, love through me, feel through me. Use your powers through me, desire through me, work through me, walk through me, and serve through me. Let my heart reflect your light. Always and in every moment of my life, please be with me. Thank you. As I was wondering about what am I going to speak about, Swami, that um, I probably haven't spoken about, I came across this quote that you see on the screen. Thinking of Swami is like taking a warm shower on a winter morning. You just don't feel like coming out of it. How often do we think of Swami in that way, as as a warm embrace, as a sweater that we crave for in the cold, as a warm cup of coffee or tea that we enjoy on a sitting on our beds? And how often do we think about His grace when we are doing those things? Are we grateful every single time that we think about the sun that shines on a cold day? Are we grateful about the rain that drops on us when it is really, really hot weather? Are we grateful for that cup of ice cream that we eat? Are we grateful for these beautiful visions of nature that we see, the vastness of nature, the oceans, the mountains? So, you know, how often do we pause and think, are we being aware? Are we being alert? How do you define Baba? So, for my journey, I think Baba is guiding me to talk about how he came into my life and how he transformed it. The first ever question that I was asked when I came across Baba is, to me, definition of Baba, B-A-B-A, is be alert and be aware. While these words can have several meanings, literal meanings, spiritual meanings, to me, Baba brought me this message in a very strange way. When Lakshmi introduced me to Baba, I was in a state of mind where everything was numb. I was numb to everything that was happening all around me. I was so beaten up and drawn into my own misery that I just closed myself, closed my heart, and only thought about myself. I was not aware of what is happening around my surroundings, was not alert at all. It was just me and my world that was crashing. And if you think about it, when Baba says be alert, be aware, he came into my life through Lakshmi. She left me a bookmark with Baba materializing the gold lingam. And many months later, I was on my way to Manhattan Center for the first time. I went in there. For those who have already heard the story, I'm not about to repeat that, but I went to Manhattan Center wanted to be a wallflower, just stick in the back and not be seen or heard, because I didn't have any idea what this was. I just went in, there were bhajans going on, and suddenly I found myself crying. And then I came out of it. Before I came out of the center, I did make one friend. At that point of time, I had no friends. And being in a different country, having no friends, it was pretty lonely and pretty, quiet. And like I said, I was in my own misery. So I met this girl, and she asked me if I would come to service on the following Saturday. So Manhattan Center meets on Thursdays. So I was there on a Thursday. She said, "Can you come with me to service?" The service that she was talking about was this there's this hospital with long-term facility patients. They have patients who are quadriplegic, they have patients who are not so severely ill, and they have different sections. The Sai community goes there. We celebrate their birthdays. We laugh with them. We take them out in the sun. We sing them bhajans, and we distribute food. On Christmas and New Year's, we bring them care packages and we celebrate. We sing hymns, carols, and just try to bring a little bit of cheer in their otherwise mundane lives that they're leading while being on the beds. So, in my state of numbness, I went to this service, and without knowing what I was going for, what I was going to do, I went in there and I was assigned Ward D, which is for the patients who are um, totally quadriplegic. They cannot move, they are on life support, and they can barely do anything on their own. They have been in the hospital for some of them were in the hospital for over 20 years. Even their families had stopped visiting them. So, very first time going in, they put me into that ward, and I went completely unaware of what was going to happen. We went there as we went from patient to patient singing, the Gayatri Mantra for those who were literally waiting to pass on, or painting nails for this beautiful young girl. She was 19 years old, but she was completely bedridden since she was 6 months old. She loved to get her nails painted. She would, the only thing that she could actually do was blink through her eyes and express her joy through the expression of her eyes. So we went from bed to bed singing, distributing gifts, sharing the cheer. And when the service got over, when I came out, um, cherry blossom was on. We climbed up the trees. We had so much, fun inside. Even after such a somber service, there was this unexplainable joy in my heart, and at the same time, this extreme sadness. And I could not tell what exactly is causing this. It made me open my eyes and open my heart to understand and become aware. BA, the first BA of Baba. Be alert, be aware. It made me aware of what a lie I was living. How could I be so ungrateful when there was so much going on around me that I had shut a blind eye to? How could you not see there is so much more to do in life than just brood over certain things that you have lost? How does your heart lose the love that is the essence and soul of all of us? What are our souls? Our souls are nothing but love. How can you lose that? How come you forgot that? When did this happen? When did you lose this awareness? When did you stop being alert at all? Forget about alertness was not even in the picture. It was sheer ignorance. And what that day did to me at a very subconscious, subtle level was break open the barriers that I'd put around my heart. Open my eyes and understand what being alert means, what being aware means, how you can be aware, what you need to be aware of Is that the material things in life, or is there more to it? And week after week, as I went to that service, it just kept on reinforcing this fact that, there's so much more to life, how we forget to be grateful for the things that we do have on a daily basis. The very fact that we have at least the hope and the understanding that we are going to wake up tomorrow morning alive. Those people did not even have that hope. In fact, it was the other way around. They were probably so long laid up in bed that they really did not even want to wake up the next day. And yet they found in their hearts that when we visited them, to bring a smile, to enforce a smile with whatever little they could do, with the blink of an eye, with the, you know, just raising of a little bit of fingers, whatever they could move. So, how can you not be moved by that? How can you not be aware? So, week after week, I went there and the transformation process began. So, with the transformation process, if you really think about being aware and being alert, with Sai, the definition of Sai to me is see always inside. Outside world will change according to how you are inside. And how does that affect you? So being alert meant to me, as I started noticing these things, once I started being aware of something that needed to change within me, that is the biggest change. That's the start of a spiritual journey. So, although I don't have a date, but I think that was my date of birth. Very late in my life, but it was my date of birth. So, as I became aware of these things, of how closed I was and how things are needed to change, there became a desire to acknowledge, become aware, and then be alert enough to recognize when those things are happening on a daily basis. And then the fourth step was to actually stop them from happening and bring the change. Where did that start? That started with small little things of, how you interact with people. Coming to the United States was a very big challenge for me. It was a very big struggle for survival. And corporate world in America is not as great. You have to fight, and you have to fight for it. But somehow Swami came into my life and he held on. He gave me values, the five basic values of truth, love, peace, nonviolence, right conduct, that made me hold my ground. That I started making different choices. Instead of walking over somebody, I decided to walk away from those. So, when these things happen, when these things start happening in your life, you start wondering, is Baba doing this? Are we doing this? And how do we handle those? For me, that was a moment of extreme gratitude, because as you realize, while you go through the waves of up and down and understanding what are your strengths and weaknesses, every transformation, little by little, that happens brings you closer to the higher consciousness, as I call him, my Baba. How many of us have recognized on and off things inside of us that needed to change? That was one of my first lessons, to speak obligingly. And although I still struggle with it sometimes, but it's a journey for all of us. We continue, we practice, and we become better. So when I work in fashion industry, so it's perceived as a very shallow profession for most, but at the same time, it also has its own challenges. So when I went to Manhattan Center, there were a lot of people who did not really want to associate with me. Now, on hindsight, I understand that. But at that time, I was so unaware. I did not know why would they not want to be friends with me. So why I'm telling you this is the kind of state of, where we start our journey. And I was like, okay, there is somebody who does not want to associate with me, and that bothered me a lot. Not because I was dying to be friends with them or anything, but I recognized the fact, and thankfully, thanks to Baba, that he made me recognize the fact that there is something that needs to change. Figuring out what was that was a big, long process. Step by step evaluation of every value that you hold close to, every belief system, the conditioning of the mind. How do you let go of the conditioning of the mind? And I visited, on a side note, I did visit one of these gurus from Hare Rama Hare Krishna mission over here in United States. I spent some time with him, and when we were leaving, I asked him, "What is the one thing that you have for me that you would like me to follow?" And he said, "Free yourself from all conditioning of the mind. Experience freedom." It can be experienced, and this is what it leads us to. How should we serve? That was one of the first questions that came into my mind after going to that service. How should we serve? What has Swami said about how should we serve? And Swami says, serve not through action, wealth, or property, or progeny. The only way to serve is through sacrifice. And what is it that we are sacrificing? We are sacrificing time with our family and friends to prepare, for example, for teachers to prepare lesson plans, or we are sacrificing TV time and parties to go do seva, or, he says, you have entrusted yourself to me to take care of my children. So the best way, sacrifice your ego, sacrifice all your petty ideas. That's the best way to serve. And Swami tested me over and over again on that, believe me. So we used to have these dinner service at Manhattan Center. Sometimes on bigger occasions like Shivratri or something, um, we would serve food to our devotees, participant membership. We also had senior citizens Seva food service that we used to conduct once, I think once a month on a Sunday. And the first time I went to prepare food for that senior citizen service, um, up until that point, I was known as a good cook in my friends and family circle. I go there, and there was this lady who was in charge, and we were making pasta, something very simple, a very basic pasta with olive oil and some herbs. So she said, "Do you know how to make pasta?" So I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I can make pasta." So she says, "Okay, come, let me teach you." So she took me there, and in a big pan, we had pasta for like near about 150 people. And I'm like, "Oh boy, I don't know how to make pasta for 150 people." And then she gave me step-by-step instructions very lovingly of how to put, what to put. Whenever I would make mistakes, she would chide me, "No, that's not how you make it. I thought you said you know how to make pasta." And that day I came back and I'm like, how much ego is inside? Although not conscious, it's at a subconscious level.
Yeah.
What is it? How much ego do we carry in small little things that we don't understand? Very confidently, I said, "I know how to make pasta." Was I able to make pasta? No. Same thing happened at the center. The first time I went, the next time I went to the center on a Thursday meeting, the devotion coordinator asked me, can you sing bhajans? Yes, I can sing bhajans. I had no idea before that. As I told, the last meeting that I went to, the first meeting that I went to was almost to a close when I went in, and I only heard one lady singing bhajan, and after that there was arti. So I had no idea um, how extremely beautiful and talented singers they had over there. I come from no classical background, no music background, no training at all. I would sing in my with my family groups on a picnic or something, Bollywood songs, and I thought I could sing. And here and there we knew prayers, how to sing prayers and bhajans. So somebody asked me, "Can you sing?" I'm like, "Yes, I can sing." "Okay, sing a bhajan next weekend, next meeting." "Sure." Um, I go in, little did I realize you have to lead a bhajan. There are going to be so many people listening to you. And as I sat in the front row with next, the person before me, I was given the second number also after the Ganesha bhajan to start singing. And my heart was like sinking. How am I going to sing this? And what is going to happen? So I think I must have been the worst singer that day. And I sang a bhajan that was not even, I was not even aware that you're supposed to sing. There's a pattern of the bhajans, or there's, especially Sai Baba bhajans have a set pattern of, you know, slow speed and fast speed, and their bhajans are very short, 4 to 6 lines. And I had no idea. I sang whatever came to my mind. And then for the next, I think, couple of months, nobody ever asked me to sing again. So, which is again, these are small reminders of how unaware we are of our small little egos that come in. And then I took it upon myself as a challenge that I have to somehow, I know that I want to sing for Swami because the devotion is there. I want to be part of this group. I have to learn. I have to learn and I have to practice, and I am going to sing. Since I said I can sing, I have to sing. I took it upon myself as a challenge. And not that I have learned any classical singing, but here and there with constant practice, I would practice a bhajan over and over again till I could come really close to singing somewhat plain bass level. So slowly and steadily, I have started getting opportunities to sing at the center again. But going back to be alert, be aware, I'm just bringing this back every time to being alert, being aware. Are we aware of what we are doing? Are we aware of our thoughts? Are we aware of our capabilities? And then how beautifully Swami keeps giving you the ability. First, he will give you the awareness. Okay, this is where you need to change. Then he will instill in you the desire to change. So that's why, when we start praying, if you remember at the beginning of this, please, Swami, desire through me. Give me the ability to receive the gifts that you are willing to give me. How in subtle ways. So Swami, very graciously, he surrounded me with a lot of young adults here who are extremely talented. They have classical singing backgrounds. They can play 10, 15 instruments. Swami surrounded me with these, young adults. I don't know why they wanted to associate with me or what happened. I just call it Swami's grace. I'm much older than, at least some of them. I'm 20 years older, but we still hang out, and we had these beautiful sessions. And every time they would ask me to, what do you wish to do? I would say, I wish to learn a bhajan from you if you can teach me. And very lovingly, gently, they would teach me. Every single time we would hang out, they would teach me one bhajan. They would tell me, this is where you go higher, this is where you go lower, voice modulation, things like that. And slowly and gradually, it's been a continuous journey of learning how to sing bhajans. But the awareness of that, up until this moment, everyone says, we grow up in our shells, closely surrounded by our family and friends who fan our egos so much. They'll say, oh wow, you sang beautifully. And then when you hit in the big world, then you realize how we are just a small dot in the entire cosmos of the universe. So these are, I'm going to continue with my little tiny experiences. I hope I'm not being a bore. So these are little experiences of how first Swami gave the awareness, then he, gave the desire to bring a change, and then he actually, has been instrumental in whatever transformation has happened so far. So we were talking about speaking obligingly. We had a teacher, very experienced teacher. We called it EHV course, Education in Human Values for Adults. What is almost parallel to the Balvikas. For those who are Sai devotees, they will know it's the Sai Spiritual Education, SSC or Balvikas. We had a class twice a month for adults. So the first class that I attended, as it so happened, is was about speaking obligingly. We went in, couple of us, and these are the girls that I wanted. Those are the girls that did not want to be friends with me. So there were two of those girls, one elderly lady and myself. We all went into the class, and we sit down. The teacher gives us a handout activity, and she had a few sentences that normally people would say, and how they come across and they can be perceived as rude or not so nice way of putting things. And she said, I'm giving you these quotes. I want each of you like pair up and try to say these things in a nicer way to each other. Rephrase these sentences and say in a nicer way to each other. So the sentence that I got was, your hair looks atrocious. That was the sentence that they gave me. So we laughed so much at that, me and this girl, we laughed so much at that. And, we kept saying that to each other as fun, like, your hair looks atrocious. And she's like, no, yours looks atrocious. And we were laughing, and the teacher got upset with us. It was like, this is not a fun class. This is not, you guys are not following what I'm asking you to do. You have to actually speak obligingly and say nicely to each other. And believe it or not, that broke the barrier between me and this girl. So, how beautifully Swami frames every situation is the amazing part. When we left that class, eventually, when we left that class, we took the train ride together. I found out that she lives next door to me almost. And throughout the entire ride, we laughed, called each other names, all the sentences that we were given. We were just calling each other that and, having fun and laughing with the awareness. And then from that day onwards, like once or twice, you would go to, when you're about to getting ready with, I'm pretty sure, since there are most of ladies here, we get together and we dress up together to go to a party, and we like, oh, no, 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 your hair is not looking nice. You need to change this dress. But how are we ever aware of how we are putting that across? Maybe even though it's our closest friend, do we ever stop and think that maybe that's the dress she really wanted to wear because she thinks that's the best that looks on her? Did we ever stop to think and consider about her feelings and about how we are putting it across, even if we are speaking with utmost love and we want our friend to look best? So the intention, as Auntie was saying, even though the intention is pure, are we aware of how we are saying things or how we are behaving with our closest friends? So from that day onwards, as much as we joked about that, and the joke has now become an insider joke, we still, every time we see each other, we say, hey, your hair looks atrocious. But two things happened out of that small little incident. A, it brought me the awareness of how to watch my words always. How am I speaking? Have I mastered it? No, I haven't. I've definitely not mastered it. But the process is on. It's a journey that we are all on, and continuous transformation is something that we seek. The second thing that happened is I won a friend. And with that, slowly and gradually, by associating with her, Swami always says avoid bad company or be in good company. By being in association with her, there were so many things that I learned from her by just observing her. What are the things that are different about her that draw me to her? What is it that we can take? We can all learn from each other so many beautiful things. But are we aware? Are we watching? Are we alert to notice what it is that we can learn from each other? So slowly and gradually, it became a big group. We were 15, 20 of us who came together. And there was, on hindsight, I can tell you, it was instant upliftment of our spiritual aspects, of our individual spiritual journeys for each one of us as soon as we came together. And we were not sitting down and meditating. We were not sitting down or having these intense discussions about the soul or the Atman or the Brahman. No, we were just together doing Seva. While doing Seva, we were having moments of joy. Whoever Nobody let anybody feel sad ever from that point onwards. We started this Seva project from where I live. I live in Jersey City. We decided we are going to contribute some trays of food to the. We used to have from Manhattan Center. We have um, Seva by the river, food Seva, and I think we near about feed 300 people over there and another location on every Saturday. And we started preparing food. I got a couple of these young people together. We would come home from work on Friday, get together at my place, and start cooking trays and trays of food while having beautiful discussions of the discussions would always start about things that happen in on that day in our lives or something that was going on, and then by default Swami would come into the picture, and the whole aspect or the outlook of how we were looking at a problem would change into a spiritual aspect of what Swami would expect us to do, or what how we can behave in a way that is different from the other people who don't have this knowledge of teachings from Swami, and yet hold on to our truth and hold on to those values and still find a solution to get over these things. And sometimes those discussions would continue throughout the night, and we would suddenly realize the sun is rising, and we'll go for a walk by the river, come back, prepare the food, deliver the food, and work straight up through the seva. So some of you may remember that I narrated the incident about how when I started the seva first time in my house, the glass dining table fell, and how Swami protected the food. So moment when I realized that it was my foot that had been cut with the glass, and I was not worried. I did not feel a single thing. How Swami protects is amazing. There was no pain, there was no awareness of the pain. The only awareness and the focus was nothing should happen to the food. This food needs to go for people who are waiting for it in the line tomorrow. I was not that person ever before. I never even focused on my own eating food. You just come in, you sit at the dining table, you eat whatever mindlessly while watching TV, and that's it. And while I was thinking about the food that was going to be served, or how those people would probably not get the food if anything happened to the food, I was also thinking how all this time I have never been grateful for the food, for every morsel that I eat. And from that day, from the center, through Swami's grace, I learned the food prayer. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahaver, Brahmagnao, Brahmanahutam, Brahmevate Nagantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. Every time, no matter where I am, sometimes it does happen. You're always, about to put food in my mouth, and something stops. Say the prayer first. Even if it is a sip of coffee, whatever, no matter where I am, it just, I have to make my prayer. And with that, it's coming to my mind, so I'm going to share it. Are we courageous enough to accept what we are being aware of? Do we have the courage to stand out and be different? Because sometimes we are in a restaurant in United States, in India, probably it's acceptable, people do pray. But here, you go to a restaurant and you're sitting and you sit down and you start doing a food prayer as soon as the waiter brings you food. They all look at you weird. What is going on? Like, what are you doing? But you know, Swami's grace is such, the transformation that happens is like another biggest lesson that I have learned is how to not be a football of others' opinions. When you know you are on the right path, you have to you find that courage and you hold that faith and you hold it so strong, nothing shakes it. Whether anybody is judging or not judging, whether they are looking, not looking, does not matter. It really doesn't matter. I need to do my food prayer. I need to do my food prayer. That is it. It's not about how we are doing the prayer or what it's the intent behind what you're trying to do. It's really the intent behind what you're trying to do. And even if you don't, people always come up and say, oh, we don't remember the whole food prayer. It doesn't matter. It should not matter. My biggest takeaway from this is Baba, be alert, be aware, and he's always with us at all times. Little experiences, small experiences, it doesn't matter. We just acknowledge his presence. He brings the awareness, he brings us the alertness, and all we need to have is the intent to change, is the intent to acknowledge his presence, and the intent to become what he perceives, what he wanted us to become. And I will wrap it up with a little. Auntie's telling me to sing a bhajan, so I'll just sing one line. There's this beautiful, beautiful bhajan that really resonates with me. It says, Bhagavan, take our love, let it flow to thee. Take our hands, let them do thy work constantly. Take our minds, let them flow in thy holy light. Take our hands, let them do. I forget the lines. May our thoughts born of thee be guided from above. May our thoughts born of thee be guided from above. Make us all, Bhagavan, instruments of love. Jai Sai Ram.